Mark walked in. He froze when he saw me, his face twisting with fury. "Leo, what are you doing here? And you're in your pajamas? Where's Stella? What did you do to her? I knew you had bad intentions, hiding your identity to become her assistant." I had rushed out so fast I hadn't even changed clothes. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him. I turned to go, but he grabbed my arm hard. "You shameless bastard. The moment I'm gone, you run here to seduce her." I shook his hand off, my expression cold. "Show some respect, Mark. Stella called me for help. She was having an asthma attack. Or would you have preferred she die?" His handsome face twisted with rage. "Don't lie to me. Stella's perfectly fine." "You're disgusting, coming here dressed like that." I'd lost every ounce of patience. I turned to leave, but my indifference seemed to drive him mad. He snatched a fruit knife off the coffee table and lunged at me. "You're not leaving." "I'll ruin that pretty face of yours today. Let's see how you seduce her then." I hadn't expected him to actually pull a knife. I backed away, trying to reason with him. "Put the knife down, Mark. Assault with a deadly weapon is a crime." But he kept advancing, eyes wild. "Stella will protect me. She won't let me get arrested." "What's wrong, Leo? Scared? Get on your knees and beg. Slap yourself 100 times and maybe I'll let you go." The next second, a sharp kick knocked him to the ground and the knife flew from his hand. "Mark, are you insane?" Stella had woken up, stumbling in to find us mid-struggle. Mark whimpered as he rubbed his wrist. "Stella, he was bullying me." I was scared. That's why I grabbed the knife. The way he switched from rage to pitiful innocence was almost impressive. But Stella didn't even look at him. She rushed over to me, eyes full of worry. "Leo, are you okay? Did he hurt you?" When I shook my head, she finally turned to Mark, and disappointment filled her face. "Look at yourself. What have you become? You lied. You tried to hurt someone. That's a crime. Don't you understand? When you were working part-time at that coffee shop, your eyes were so bright. I sponsored your education because I wanted you to grow into someone who could walk beside me. But after we got together, you became arrogant and spoiled. If I hadn't donated money to your university, you wouldn't have even graduated." "Mark, how did you turn into this?" He blinked in shock, stammering, "Stella? You're yelling at me? For him? You don't believe me?" But the Stella who stood before him now, she had finally broken free from her illusions. "Enough," she snapped. "I'm not blind. The flowers you bought triggered my asthma attack. I called Leo in a panic to save my life. You will apologize to him, and right now," Mark screamed, hysterical. "No, I'm not wrong. Leo's just a lowlife trying to climb the ladder." Stella closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, her voice was steady. "It seems we really aren't right for each other. Leave. Don't come back. HR will send you your termination letter." I thought that would be the last I saw of him. But I was wrong. 2 days later, I realized I had severely underestimated him. 3 of the top 5 trending topics online had my name in them. Davis, air bully's co-worker. Rich heir steals poor student's girlfriend. Leo Davis, the other man. I clicked on the posts. An insider had written a long story, claiming I'd used my position as a corporate heir to hide my identity and get close to Stella. He painted me as a twisted rich kid, obsessed and vengeful after Stella supposedly rejected me. He said she had fallen in love with the pure and kind Mark, and that I, out of spite, had used my family's power to humiliate him and tear them apart. Commenters claimed they'd seen me verbally abuse and physically assault Mark at the office. The internet turned against me overnight. People who didn't know the truth called me cruel, disgusting, manipulative. A few colleagues tried to defend me, but their words drowned in the sea of hate. Then Stella called. "Leo, I'm the one who brought this on you," she said, her voice small and broken. "I'm so sorry you're being slandered. Do you need me to cooperate with your legal department?" I sighed. "If you get involved now, it'll only look like I'm using power to crush him. Mark says I'm a workplace bully who throws his weight around, right? Fine. I'll let him taste what that really feels like. But if this ends up affecting you, don't blame me. I had wanted to end things peacefully, leave the past behind. After all, we'd built so much together. But clearly that was no longer possible. I didn't rush to post a defense. That would only look desperate. Instead, I gathered every piece of evidence. When I was ready, I posted a long article from my verified X account, No tears, no self-pity. Just facts. I laid out everything clearly, proof that I joined Vance Industries as part of my family's training program, complete with hiring documentation. Screenshots of news reports showing how I helped Stella rebuild her company. Chat logs between us, purely professional. The most intimate thing was her old joke about marrying me if we were single at 30, to which I'd replied, "You should probably focus on taking the company public first." Anyone could see there was nothing romantic, just respect. I even shared screenshots of Stella's private messages to me, complaining about Mark's immaturity and thanking me for my patience. At the end, I wrote, "My relationship with Ms. Stella Vance has always been professional. I have never crossed any boundaries. I previously chose not to pursue Mr. Mark's repeated provocations in the interest of peace. However, these recent false statements have severely damaged both my reputation and my company's. I will be pursuing legal action. The truth will speak for itself." As soon as it went live, the entire narrative flipped. People mocked Mark, calling him a drama queen with a Cinderella complex. Any rational person could see who was at fault. Public sympathy turned toward me. Some even joked about my hardship tour, a rich heir forced to grind like a wage slave. When the police finally found Mark in a dingy rental apartment, he was still screaming my name, blaming me for everything, saying I'd ruined his life. He never saw that his ruin was his own doing. And as all this unfolded, Vance Industries began to crumble. The canceled partnership had already strained their cash flow, and the scandal made investors panic. Former partners, knowing I'd cut ties, withdrew their support. The stock price plummeted. Soon, financial news confirmed the worst. Projects stalled, banks called in their loans, and the company was on the brink of bankruptcy. Stella was forced to sell her shares. When I saw the headline, I felt nothing. She had protected him. She had chosen her side. Now she had to face the consequences. All I did was protect myself and tell the truth. Life returned to normal. I immersed myself in work, running the family corporation. Not long after Vance Industries went bankrupt, my phone rang. Her voice was faint, hoarse. "Leo," I said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Just as I was about to hang up, she spoke again, gathering what little strength she had left. "Mark's gone. He was terrified after being released from custody. I've made things clear. He won't be coming back to the city." I asked quietly, "You called just to tell me that?" Mark's drama was over. His madness had only accelerated my return to the helm of my family's company. The only real casualty was what had once existed between Stella and me. She hesitated, her tone a mix of regret and self-mockery. "I saw your recent investment news. You're as brilliant as ever. I'm sorry. For everything," I let out a soft, humorless chuckle. "It's all in the past." There was silence, only the faint sound of her breathing through the line. Then, almost in a whisper, she asked, trembling, "Leo, and I'm just saying if there had been no Mark, could there have been even a small chance for us?" I cut her off gently but firmly. "There are no ifs, Stella. We were great friends and work partners. But that's all it ever was. I'm happy with my life now. I've already let go of the past." She exhaled softly, a long, tired sigh. "I understand. I wish you all the best." I paused. "I hope you get back on your feet and find someone who truly loves you." Before she could reply, I ended the call. I set my phone down and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window of my office. The city stretched endlessly below, lights glittering like stars. I exhaled slowly. The tightness in my chest, the bitterness, the weight, finally began to fade. Then I turned back to my desk, to the project proposal waiting for me. 6 months later, at an industry summit, I saw her again. She looked thinner. The fire in her eyes had dimmed, but beside her stood a gentle, intelligent-looking man in a well-cut suit. Unlike Mark, he wasn't clinging to her. They talked quietly, like both colleagues and perhaps something more. Our eyes met. We shared a polite nod. No greetings, no small talk. As we passed each other, I heard the man beside her ask softly, "You know Mr. Davis?" "He's my idol." Stella's voice was calm. "He was once an incredibly brilliant partner of mine. I was the one who couldn't keep up. Hearing that, I didn't stop or turn. Stella and I were never lovers, and we were no longer enemies. The only thing that had ever truly existed between us, in the end, was partnership, and that chapter was closed. I walked forward, toward the future waiting for me. New projects, new deals, a new life. With that, she turned and left, taking the still sniveling Mark with her. I stood there watching them go, letting out a long breath. Mr. Lee, an associate I knew well, handed me a cup of tea, his voice pointed. A talent like you, Leo. Why do you put up with these baseless accusations? The doors at Stellar Group are always open for you. For some reason, an image of the 20-year-old Stella flashed before my eyes. A spirited young woman, fearless even when her company was collapsing. I could still hear her voice, firm and bright as she pointed toward the tallest skyscraper in the city. Leo, I'll make this company a name people respect again. She had done it, but in the process, she'd become someone I no longer recognized. Someone who couldn't tell right from wrong. Someone who no longer deserved to be my partner. I pulled out my phone and sent a message to my father. Cancel the partnership with Vance Industries next week. I'll announce it myself at the press conference. The signing ceremony with Stellar Group was held in the company's conference room. Cameras and reporters were aimed at the stage. I meticulously checked the agenda and contract details, making sure everything was flawless. This was my last project at Vance Industries. I wanted to see it through, perfectly, cleanly. Stella and Mark arrived together. Mark was dressed to the nines, in custom designer clothes, as if he wanted to tattoo "Man of the House" on his forehead. The ceremony went smoothly until the final step, projecting the contract on the big screen for signatures. Mark eagerly stepped forward to run the presentation. But the next moment, the screen flashed, and a series of obscene photos appeared. The man in those photos had my face, naked, tangled with different women in vulgar poses. The conference room froze. Then came the uproar. Mark sobbed in feigned panic. I pressed the wrong button by mistake. Leo, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you had so many private photos stored on your computer. He was pretending to apologize while throwing dirt on my name, confirming, without saying it outright, that those photos were mine. Then, as if that weren't enough, he projected a forged medical report, with my name on it, diagnosing me with an unspeakable STD. Mark gasped dramatically. Leo, I'd heard your private life was chaotic, but I didn't think it was true. You won't infect the whole business community, will you? It was a filthy, low tactic, designed to destroy me completely. Humiliation burned through me like acid. Stella's face went pale. She ordered the staff to turn off the screen, but the damage was already done. Whispers and contemptuous glances sliced through me like knives. I didn't realize Leo was so open-minded in private. No wonder he climbed the ladder so fast. He has his special methods. He's disgraced Ms. Vance and the whole company. A cheap whore who slept his way to the top. The ceremony ended abruptly. Walked back to my office, my spine straight, ignoring every murmur. There wasn't much to pack, just some files and notebooks. I quietly placed them in a box. There was nothing left here to hold on to. The office door burst open. Mark swaggered in, chin high with triumph. Packing up already? How does it feel to be completely disgraced? His fingers brushed against a trophy on my desk. The Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year award that Stella and I had won together when we saved the company from bankruptcy. She'd insisted on engraving my name on it too, saying half the credit was mine. Mark picked up the crystal trophy, smirking. Still keeping this piece of junk? Hoping Stella will feel nostalgic, huh? As he spoke, he made a motion to smash it. My pupils contracted. I stepped forward instinctively. Put it down. Ms. Vance and I are just colleagues. He sneered and suddenly slammed the trophy into my forehead. Pain exploded through my head. Warm blood blurred my vision. When Stella rushed in at the sound of the crash, Mark was already on the floor, pretending to cry. Stella. Leo said I embarrassed him and he went crazy. He tried to beat me up. She didn't even see the deep gash on my head or the blood running down my face. Her voice was cold, cutting. Leo, what are you trying to do now? Haven't you made enough of a fool of yourself today? Report to the janitorial department tomorrow. You need to be taught a lesson. The company doesn't lack talent anymore. Don't think we can't survive without you. I felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, just emptiness. Don't trouble yourself, Ms. Vance, I said flatly. I quit. I wish you and Mark a long and happy life. Together. I picked up my box and walked out of the place where I had fought for 5 years, without looking back. Once, the biggest difference between Stella and me was simple. I would never let fleeting emotions interfere with my career. The next day was the press conference for the major partnership announcement between Vance Industries and Davis Holdings. I arrived with a bandage on my forehead, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit. When Mark saw me, he shrieked, "Leo, how dare you show your face here? Are you trying to beg Stella for forgiveness?" He waved to the nearby security guards. "Get this fired piece of trash out of here. He doesn't belong here." Just then my father walked in, surrounded by reporters and top executives. I spotted my friend Kyle in the crowd. He gave me a little wink. Mark immediately switched tones, forcing a fawning smile. "Mr. Davis," but before he could finish, my father smiled and extended a hand to me. "I'd like to introduce everyone to my son, Leo Davis. He will be formally taking over as CEO of Davis Holdings." The color drained from Mark's face. "Impossible. How could you be Mr. Davis's son? You're just a failure Stella fired. I get it. You hired actors to trick everyone. You're a manipulative bastard." Stella's face went rigid. She yanked her arm out of Mark's grasp. She wasn't stupid. Before meeting him, she had been sharp, methodical. She knew the heir announced by the chairman of Davis Holdings couldn't possibly be fake, but Mark was lost in his own delusions. He jabbed a finger toward me, screaming, "You're just an assistant who slept his way to the top. Those filthy pictures are still online and you have the nerve to act high and mighty? I know what this is. You're jealous of me, trying to steal Stella away." His voice cracked, shrill and hysterical. The crowd began to murmur. So that's who Leo is, the Prince of Davis Holdings. No wonder he was so capable. Ms. Vance really misjudged him. She threw away a golden goose for a boy toy. I watched Mark's performance with cold detachment. My voice, when I spoke, was low and steady. "Mark, paranoia is a disease. You should get it treated." The words hit him like a slap. His mouth snapped shut, his face twisting in humiliation. I didn't look at him again. Turning to the cameras and reporters, I spoke clearly. In light of the management chaos at Vance Industries and the severe damage to my personal reputation caused by its personnel, I, on behalf of Davis Holdings, hereby announce that all previously agreed-upon partnership intentions with Vance Industries are canceled, effective immediately. Stella swayed where she stood, disbelief washing over her. The decision was enough to cripple her company. She looked at me with pleading eyes. "Leo, I was wrong to let you get hurt before. For the sake of the years we fought side by side, please, give Vance Industries another chance." She thought her favoritism toward Mark was just a small mistake. That once it was cleared up, I would forgive her, like I always had. Her face, once beautiful to me, was now etched with nothing but desperation and calculation. I cut her off, keeping my voice calm. "Ms. Vance, we were only ever colleagues. What bond are you talking about? Your company isn't some small startup. Even if this partnership falls through, there's no need to cling to it and make yourself a laughingstock." The familiarity of my tone, the same one she'd heard for 5 years, made her instantly understand what I meant. She opened her mouth but couldn't form a single word. After a long moment, she finally asked hesitantly, "Leo, will you ever come back?" My words shattered whatever hope she had left. Of course not. I used to think that after I took over my family's company, we could build a powerful alliance. But now it's clear. You're no longer qualified to be my partner. It was like all the strength drained out of her body. Stella staggered back a step, the light in her eyes completely gone. Mark, however, had recovered. His face twisted with anger as he glared at me. "Stella, don't beg him. We'll be fine without Davis Holdings." Stella looked at him with disgust, pushed him away, and strode out. But her steps lacked their usual confidence. She just looked, defeated. This was the path she chose. We were never lovers, but we had been close partners. And she was the one who broke that balance, letting her boy toy humiliate and suppress me. All I did was cut off a dangerous business liability. Kyle came over, clapping me on the shoulder with a teasing smile. "Congratulations, Leo. You finally passed your trial and come home." A few days later, I was in a video conference at home when my phone rang. An urgent call from Stella. Her voice was weak, trembling. "Leo, I'm having an asthma attack. I can't find my inhaler." Ever since she'd once been rushed to the ER, I'd always kept spare medication for her. And even though I wanted nothing more to do with her now, this was about a life. Without hesitation, I ended the meeting, grabbed the medicine and my car keys, and bolted out the door. The code to her apartment hadn't changed. When I entered, she was curled up on the sofa, struggling to breathe. I gave her the medicine and lit some calming incense. After a blur of movement and worry, her breathing finally steadied. I was about to leave when the front door swung open, and the day I first met the college kid Stella Vance was sponsoring, I had just chased down a train in my dress shoes to sign a contract. Seeing the sweat on my brow, Mark gave me a critical once-over, pouting with clear displeasure. "Stella, this is your star executive assistant? He looks like he just rolled out of someone's bed. A boy toy who signs deals with his body, maybe?" My professional composure was tested like never before. My calm expression almost cracked. The stray dogs rooting through trash cans at dawn would have called me the king of the grind. Recruiters had offered me 8 figures to jump ship, and here was someone calling me the boss's bed warmer. I turned and dialed a number. "Dad, I'm done with this learning the ropes thing. As soon as this project is finished, I'm coming back to take over the family business." Before I could even explain, Mark continued his tirade. "An empty suit like you, all flash and no substance, must have slept his way into the EA position. Stella, you have to fire him. Having trash like this in the company ruins the culture. Make room for people who actually work hard." Stella frowned, trying to calm him down. "Mark, you've got it all wrong. I hired Leo at a high salary. His professional abilities are on par with my own." Her normally sharp mind seemed clouded by affection. She was completely oblivious to Mark's hostility toward me. "Leo has been my executive assistant for 3 years, and his skills are impeccable. From now on, he'll be supervising your internship. You should learn from him." Mark lifted his chin, looking at me with disdain. "I graduated from UCLA. What third-rate college did he go to that he thinks he can teach me?" The room fell silent. He assumed my silence meant I was intimidated. Finally, Stella broke the tension. "Leo has a PhD from MIT, Mark. You need to be more humble." Mark's handsome face flushed red. He muttered defiantly, "It's just a foreign university. You can buy a degree like that. What's he showing off for?" He grabbed Stella's arm, voice tinged with grievance. "Well, I'm still going to keep a close eye on him. Make sure he doesn't get a chance to seduce you." He saw himself as the hero of some story. The brave young man who would, after countless trials, win the beautiful maiden's heart. And I was the villain standing in his way. Stella rubbed her temples, her eyes pleading with me for help. I understood instantly. Solving the boss's problems was part of my job. I smiled gently at Mark. "Mr. Mark, you've misunderstood. Ms. Vance and I have a purely professional relationship. If you don't believe me, I can show you my employment contract and our chat logs." Stella took the chance to soothe him. "Mark, stop making a scene. Go wait for me in the lounge. I'll be there once I finish signing this contract." He was reluctantly persuaded to leave, but not before shooting me a vicious glare. After he left, Stella stopped me, her tone complicated. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Starting this month, I'm doubling your salary." As I walked out of the office, Mark gave me a contemptuous look and said loudly, "Leo, you should change out of those tight clothes. Who are you trying to seduce, dressing like that?" I looked down at my well-tailored but classic shirt and trousers, completely baffled. Before I could respond, he continued, "You work out to get that body and then wear form-fitting clothes. You're just dying for people to stare, aren't you? Even if you're just a pretty face, you should have some decency in the office." This was my standard client-facing attire. How could he describe it so crudely? Besides, What kind of pretty face pulls all-nighters writing proposals until the dark circles under his eyes are impossible to hide? Seeing Mark's relentless pestering, Stella sighed helplessly. Leo, starting tomorrow, please wear a looser-fitting suit to work. I glanced at the 108-degree sun outside and nodded silently. It would be a lie to say it didn't sting. Years ago, when I was distraught over my mother's death, I almost drowned, and Stella saved me. That's why, when it came time to learn the ropes, before inheriting my family business, I chose to come to her company. Even when her family's business was failing, I stood by her side, helping her bring it back from the brink. We were boss and subordinate, but also best friends, confidants. She'd once laughed and said that if we were both still single at 30, she'd marry me and we'd have a huge wedding. I didn't take it seriously then, but now I suddenly felt she wasn't as brilliant as I'd remembered. Later, Stella invited the CEO of Stellar Group to a reception at a top-tier private club. As the core leader of the project, I was also invited. What I didn't expect was to see Mark there too, dressed in flashy designer streetwear and sitting far too close to Stella. As I discussed project details, Stella nodded in agreement, but Mark, clearly feeling ignored, remarked sarcastically, "Leo is so impressive, helping Stella land such a huge project. I bet you sealed the deal by drinking with all the bosses. One glass after another. Thanks for sacrificing so much for our company." The room went silent. I spoke calmly. "You're joking, Mark. This project moved forward thanks to Ms. Vance's decisiveness, the other executives, and our team's proposal." Mark smirked. "I doubt that. A guy as capable as you must be capable in other ways too. You must be a great drinker. Stop playing coy. Have a few rounds with the executives." His crude jokes crossed every line. Stella's brow furrowed. "Mark, stop it!" He huffed and grabbed a glass of wine, holding it out to me. "Stella, are you falling for this pretty boy? Why are you protecting him from a few drinks?" Then he pretended to stumble, and the wine spilled all over my chest. The cold liquid soaked through my shirt, outlining the firm lines of my body. He feigned a gasp, barely hiding his grin. "Oh, Leo," my hand slipped. "I'm so sorry. Anyway, you'll be drinking later, right? What's the difference if you're already a little wet? It livens things up." The taunts in his words cut deep, as if I were some degenerate who sold himself out. Everyone had assumed Stella and I were more than friends, but not quite lovers. Only I knew the truth. I saw her as a trusted partner, someone I believed in completely. When the company's cash flow collapsed, I worked for months without rest, drinking myself into stomach bleeding to secure investment. And when I was caught in an earthquake on a business trip, she rushed into the disaster zone to find me. Even my father had been shocked that someone as cautious as me could trust another person that deeply. But now, she hadn't done a single thing to stop Mark's disgusting behavior. I looked down at the mess on my chest, my gaze turning cold. Some of the business partners stepped in, trying to smooth things over. "Mark, the joke's gone too far. Leo is our valued partner, not your entertainment. Ms. Vance, you need to control your people. Leo's the kind of talent we've been trying to poach for ages. You'd better appreciate him." The mockery Mark expected never came. Instead, everyone was praising my professionalism. I looked up at him and chuckled softly. "Since you're so eager for a drink, I'll join you." I had the waiter bring 2 large tumblers, filling them to the brim with top-shelf whiskey. Mark's face froze as I downed my glass without flinching. I pushed the other one toward him. "I'm done." "Don't tell me you're scared, Mark. When I was 3, I snuck into my father's wine cellar and drank a whole bottle of Lafite he'd been saving. This little bit of whiskey is nothing." Stella shot me a displeased look. "Leo, stop joking around. Nobody can drink like that without getting drunk." The moment she said that, I knew. She was going to protect him again. I set my glass down, nodded politely to the executives. "Excuse me, I need to clean up." Mark followed me into the restroom. "Leo, you must hate me, huh? You've been by Stella's side for so long and still couldn't win her heart. You're just a toy to keep her bed warm." I didn't bother responding. He suddenly tried to shove me, but I sidestepped instinctively, and he stumbled, smacking himself across the face. I froze, stunned, as he ran out, tears welling in his red eyes. This is bad, I thought. hurrying after him, only to see him throw himself dramatically into Stella's arms. Stella. Leo hit me. I just wanted to apologize, but he called me your kept man and said I wasn't good enough for you. Stella froze, shock and confusion clouding her eyes. Mark's eyes were red and teary, his voice trembling, but every word was a complete lie. Stella's brow furrowed as she looked at the crying. Stella held the boy in her arms, then looked at me uncertainly. Leo, what really happened? I let out a small, exasperated laugh and sighed. Ms. Vance, do you really believe such a clumsy setup? We weren't the only ones in the restroom just now. Mrs. Wallace from Apex Holdings was there too. Why don't you ask her? Mark's whining stopped abruptly, his face turning deathly pale. Stella, men know men. He's only close to you because he has ulterior motives. Leo looks down on me. He wants to be your man. His words made her flustered. She looked at me with a mix of scrutiny and disappointment. Mark is still young and immature. Even if he said something wrong, you shouldn't have hit him. I stood there silently, memories flooding back, of when a rival company once tried to frame me during a brutal business war. Back then, Stella had stood by me without hesitation, declaring she would always believe me. But it seemed even the strongest partnerships couldn't survive when love blinded one side. Seeing that I wasn't responding, Stella chose to smooth things over.